Good evening, Glue Troopers, and welcome back to the TARDIS. I figured out what happened to the sound the other night. It was the battery in the microphone had died, and I got a new one in, and now we should be coming through 5x5. So anyway, didn't get a chance to do much on the Felixstowe today, and by much I mean any, because life things came up. And I got out here, and something I had been meaning to do for a while was string a couple of more wires to hang some more models, create some more shelf space. Get some of those Battle of Midway models hung up from back when I did my documentary on the air operations, the Battle of Midway. So I was hanging the wire up on the stool, and when I reached for one of the anchor points of the existing wire, it came loose, fortunately, in my hand, but that led to this little cluster. And no damage, but, well, I'm sorry, it did knock the landing gear off the Cessna 182, so, and it broke pretty bad. I'm not sure if I can fix it. So I got a two-legged, instead of three-legged 182 hanging from the ceiling. But everything else did okay. And I took the opportunity to rearrange some stuff and tidy up, create a little more shelf space. And it looks a lot better now and got a little more room to operate. Also, something I had forgotten to do when I went on my little joyride over to Quincy yesterday was the airport manager had said, if you got some extra models, you want to bring them by, we'll put them on display in the airport. And I was thinking, I've got some, nice presentable models that I could gift to the airport and create some space here, stuff I built a long time ago. And I might go ahead and I did bring my friend his wagons, but I forgot to bring stuff to put on display there. So I might do that next time. And I think my brother's going to visit in a while. He's going to take a couple of his models back. So again, create a little bit of space, but there's something, you can do with your models. When I was hanging the models up, since these were largely the models I used for the Battle of Midway thing, I happened to look up and see the Grumman Avenger and the 2 Zeros, and it reminded me of that beautiful painting by Craig, sadly late Craig Cadera, that he had done of the 6 Avengers that were at Midway Atoll during the Battle of Midway. They were actually part of Torpedo Squadron 8 off the Hornet, but they were not able to get out to the ship in time, so they were ferried from Hawaii to Midway. And they went and attacked. They were actually, if I remember my timeline correctly, they were actually the first American aircraft to attack Kido Butai, the Japanese mobile force. And 3 of them were shot down before they got close enough to launch their torpedoes. 2 of them got close enough to launch their torpedoes and were then shot down, including the unit commander, Lieutenant Langdon K. Fieberling. One of the aircraft was shot up very badly. The turret gunner was killed. The radio operator, belly gunner, was knocked unconscious by a round that glanced off his head. And the pilot caught one, it was Bert Ernest, caught one across the side under the chin, across the throat, knocked out his instruments. Everything in the plane was shot up. He thought he was going in. He was able to save the airplane at the last second using the trim wheel. And eventually they weren't going to make it to the carrier, so they just lobbed their torpedo at the light cruiser Nagara, but they didn't score a hit. But they limped back to Midway. They were the only one of the 6 to make it back. And the airplane, which by the way was the first production Avenger, it wasn't even called the Avenger, it was just a TBF at that point. For what happened to the Battle of Midway, that's why they gave it the name Avenger, to avenge what happened to him at Midway. And he got his TBF back to Midway. The gear collapsed on landing. But he and his radio man Harry Ferrier managed to get out, and they were looking for another airplane to go by. Even though they were both wounded, Ferrier he wasn't unconscious anymore, and even though his head was bandaged, he was like, no, let's go get him. And there's Bert Ernest there with his throat bandage. I'm going, yeah, give me another airplane, I'll go get him. But there were no airplanes left, and they were shocked to learn they were the only ones that made it back. And Jay Manning, the turret gunner, apparently when a hardcore old Marine sergeant who was putting a tarp over the turret when he saw what had happened to me because he'd been hit by a 20mm round, and he's like, no sir, he's gone, you don't want to see it. So, but I don't call them the greatest generation for nothing. But anyway, always thought that painting by Craig Cadera was just probably the best of any of the Battle of Midway paintings I've seen. There's just something about it that and it's one of those lesser known battles, which is really kind of sad. But when I saw the I did not do that on purpose. I just looked up and went, Styrene River Drive must have been guiding my hand. But there we have it. So tomorrow we do have a few things we have to do, but hopefully I'll get the engines made. And I've got those eye pins that Bruce, the Mystic Modeler ship, sent me, and I also have some of those gas patch turnbuckles. So I'll probably try to do some rigging with that if I get that far. And I'm going to experiment a few different ways to do it. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. This is still supposed to be a fun hobby, so I'm not going to stress over it, but I want it to look nice. So anyway, that's all I've got for today. Glad you guys enjoyed the little bit of video from yesterday. And when time comes to get rid of my Kia, we're a family. We're always going to have a minivan. It's just too practical not to. But when we saw my wife's car, I'm like, seeing a convertible in our future. So this evening like this would be perfect just to go out and drive around the neighborhood in one. And this is kind of more for the car guys and the motorcycle guys. I've ridden motorcycles my whole life, and I've had my share of accidents. But as I've gotten older, riding, and of course the new hip and everything, riding motorcycles, I still love motorcycles, don't get me wrong, but the idea of going down on one now really kind of terrifies me. And I guess, I don't know if it's paranoia or wisdom, but the convertible, it's kind of that, it's a nice compromise. I really, really enjoyed riding around with him in that Mustang yesterday. That's an '07. That's the only year they made that body style. And his is low miles, really nice condition. So guys, that's all I got for tonight. A few of the models are, now that I have the other shelf space, I'm moving a couple of the better builds like the Bonanza into the house now that I got a little room for them. Happiness is plenty of shelf space, isn't it, guys? And a nice work area. Well, guys, you have a wonderful evening. You take care and model on.
Thank you.